Hello, welcome to Talk of the Town. I am your host, Abby on the Avenue, and Marketing Director for Appleton Downtown Incorporated. Talk of the Town is a podcast where we shine a spotlight on the people, places, and passion in our community. Each episode, we engage in meaningful conversations with community ambassadors and local business owners as they share their stories about what makes our district thrive. Whether you're a history buff, foodie, music lover, or something in between, there's something here for everyone. Join us as we uncover the stories of what makes downtown Appleton one great place. And today, for our episode, I am excited to have Cindy Reffke on with Prevent Suicide Fox Cities. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Abby.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your organization, and the role that you have.
Okay, I'm the Executive Director of Prevent Suicide Fox Cities. I've been with the organization since 2013, and I am a survivor of suicide loss, which brought me to Prevent Suicide Fox Cities. After I had healed from that grief and that loss, I wanted to give back to the community in that space.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think this is unfortunately something that I think a lot of people have, resonated with or experienced in their lives, whether it's them personally, their loved ones, friends and family. It is definitely, something that is an issue for everybody. So it's important to have resources from great organizations like yours for people to have when they're dealing with those difficult times.
Thank you. Yes, it is. So our organization actually started in 2009. It was founded when there were several suicides in the Kaukauna area, and our founder was a registered nurse, and she thought it was a good idea and a good time to start an organization. She left the organization in 2016, and we reorganized, and so it's been that organization since 2016. And we help people who are in our working age men, 24 to 64. They are at the greatest risk, and now our elderly are also at very high risk as well. So we try to be in spaces where there are men. So we have our billboard out at the Timber Rattlers. Perhaps you've seen that. It says Prevent Suicide Fox Cities. We also have a relationship with the Green Bay Gamblers and with Wisconsin International Raceway. So where there are men, and we also do some work in high schools, as well as if anybody invites us to have a resource table, we're there.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's important to get out into the community and to share that message. So can you talk about, where your office is located and how long that you've been, in that space?
We've been at 211 East Franklin Street, which is only 2 blocks from downtown Appleton, for as long as I can remember, perhaps even back as far as 2009. So it's a great space. There are other organizations within our building, and we just like being close to downtown Appleton, and it's easy for people who are coming to our organization to find us. There's great parking. It's just a great place for us to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the location you're talking about, I know that there's a lot of really great nonprofits within that building that I think not a lot of people are aware of. So it's awesome to have you in there along with those other partners who are sharing those amazing resources that are offered.
Absolutely. And I can tell you who they are. NAMI of the Fox Cities is also in our building, as well as SOAR. And I love working with those folks. My nephew is Down syndrome, so once in a while I've had the opportunity to see him at a SOAR event, which is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to talking a little bit about you and, your history with the organization, what were you doing before you got involved with Prevent Suicide Fox Cities? And I know you touched on it a little bit, but what, inspired you to get more involved with the organization and to what it is today?
Well, I feel very blessed because I was in the business world. I worked for some great organizations. The last 25 years of my career, I had a business in my home. It was Quest Marketing Incorporated, where I did marketing services for companies. Alongside of my business work, I always volunteered for nonprofit organizations. So I was with Prevent Suicide Fox Cities, also Paperfest, Babes, and some of the other nonprofit organizations. I just liked giving back to the community. So when my brother-in-law passed away from suicide, I just thought that Prevent Suicide it was always something that I was interested in, and I just wanted to be in that space. And it's interesting because I had 45 years in the business world, and I'm just really comfortable with Prevent Suicide Fox Cities and all of the people that we have served.
Absolutely. And, that really touches on that point of how important volunteering is, that hits home for our organization. We're so, proud of, and we really rely on our volunteers that we have. So it's amazing to hear the story of someone who just, volunteered for a cause because you love to give back. And now, here you are running the organization and something that's so close to home to you. So that's something we always like to drive home is how important volunteering is, especially for these nonprofits, and how, crucial and critical they are to the success of those organizations.
And having that experience in the business world as well as in marketing was perfect for Prevent Suicide Fox Cities. We are so blessed in our community. I just have to do a shout out for all the people who donate and give of their time volunteering to nonprofit organizations. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without all of the support that we get from the community. And I just wanted to say one thing that we do provide to people, which I think is really important, and that's support after suicide loss. We offer individual support by appointment, and then we have a support group on the third Thursday of the month from 6 to 8 at 211 East Franklin Street. So people don't have to suffer with that grief alone. We're here to walk that journey with you and hold your hand, or keep our arms around you and be there for you, so you're not alone in that sadness.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is just so important. And like you mentioned, there are multiple ways to support a nonprofit organization. Doesn't always need to be, a financial support, giving your time, sharing the word, all those different things are also very important to keeping those organizations afloat. So definitely great to shout that out for sure.
Absolutely. And we're so grateful to Appleton Downtown. We're part of Appleton Downtown. So we're so grateful that we can utilize your Facebook page as well to promote like our walk that we had in downtown Appleton. We had 350 people walking down College Avenue from the Hilton Appleton Paper Valley, and being able to bring dogs along with us to the Hilton and share in that was amazing. So we just love being in downtown Appleton for everything that is here, the Mile of Music, everything.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that the walk that you guys have, do you want to talk a little bit more about that, the history of that, the importance of it, who gets involved?
This was our 4th year having our walk. 2 years we partnered with Lawrence University, which is another great reason to be in downtown Appleton. Lawrence is a great partner. And then we decided to do it on our own. And someone recommended the Hilton Appleton Paper Valley. So we tried it because you just never know in Wisconsin what the weather might be like. So it was nice to be inside and set up all of our tables and so forth. And we doubled the number of people this year walking with us. So we were able to walk downtown College Avenue, down Ellen Court Peace Park, and then across the bridge, the hydroelectric bridge, and then up through Lawrence University, and then back on College Avenue. And we're just so blessed because within that area, we have 8 parks within walking distance of the Hilton Appleton Paper Valley. Yeah. So when you think about all that green space that we have right from the downtown, it's amazing. And bridges, I just have to say this as well. The bridges connect us here in our community, north to south. You always have to be crossing a bridge, and we have water all around us, which is really good for our mental health and that green space as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Many people, when they think of downtown, they think of College Avenue, which is great. That is the heart of downtown. But our district expands beyond that. Like you mentioned, along the riverfront and in the flats and down by the River Heath community, connecting all of those different areas. So like you said, it is, truly amazing, the walkability that we have here in downtown Appleton that expands beyond just College Avenue, but also along those riverfronts as well. So it's great that you were able to utilize those and access that and give people that opportunity with the walk that you guys organize.
Yes. And we actually, our walk was a fundraiser. So we had several wonderful partners for our walk, and we were able to raise $10,000, which I'm amazed at that myself. So
that's incredible.
Thank you to everyone. We're so grateful. On July 17th, I'm just going to plug this as well, we have a butterfly release for our survivors of suicide loss at Appleton City Park, which is also just 2 blocks off of College Avenue. And we release butterflies. I order live butterflies from Cloverleaf Farms in Florida. They're overnighted to us, so everyone gets their own butterfly in a little package, and the little package says, "Always in my heart." So we can speak our loved one's name, be supportive of all the folks around us, and then release that butterfly, and all the butterflies then stay in the park.
That's amazing.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to talk a little bit more about, the resource center itself and the different things that you offer within yours. So if you want to just kind of go through the different buckets of, like, I know you mentioned there, are avenues for people who are struggling maybe with thoughts of suicide, but also those that are, have loved ones who may be dealing with these issues or may have, taken their life. So if you just want to walk through, the different things for everybody that you have there, so they know the resources you have available.
The most important thing is, if you are struggling with mental health issues and you are suicidal, you're thinking of suicide, our motto, and I'm wearing my shirt, and on the back of my shirt it says, "Tell someone, I'll listen, tell me." Please tell someone how you are feeling, because that way we want you to stay here. We love you. We care about you. You're not alone. There are so many wonderful resources in our community for someone who is struggling. Please tell someone so that we can get you the help that you need. We teach a program called Question, Persuade, and Refer. It's referred to as QPR. We've been in the community since 2009, and we're raising awareness through that QPR training. We've trained about 25,000 people to be gatekeepers, is what they're called, and the people can learn what to do if someone around them is struggling, to ask that tough question. Do you have a plan? Are you thinking of killing yourself? And then persuading them to get the help that they need and referring them to that help and staying with them until help arrives, and then kind of keep in touch with that person for as long as you want to have that relationship or can have that relationship, to keep that person alive. We are better off having you here and loving you and caring about you. So just know that you are not alone, and that you need to share your thoughts and feelings if you're struggling.
Yes. Yeah. It's important that everybody knows that, your life matters.
It does.
There are situations and times when people, struggle with that. And I think, in society today, we talk about the rise of the digital age and how that's been putting a big impact on mental health, especially on, the younger generations, of trying to meet all these standards and, benchmarks that they think that they need to do, and just how it's very, it's not achievable, and it can really weigh heavily on people's mental health. And, it's a rising issue, unfortunately, everywhere, not just here.
And if you are overwhelmed, and I think that's what you were saying, if you are overwhelmed with having to keep so many balls in the air and you just can't do it, it's okay to say, you know what, I need a break right now. I need to just back away from some of that, and I need to take care of myself. Self-care is not selfish. We all need to self-care. We need to take care of ourselves so we can take care of others.
Yes.
And getting sleep is so important. So if you're struggling with sleep, please tell someone, because we can get you help to help you sleep better.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very, very important for anybody, any age.
It is for any age.
Yeah.
We need to get that sleep so we can regenerate our brains and our bodies.
Yes.
And stay in harmony.
Sure. So you talked a little bit about, those who are struggling. If you see somebody, or if I happen to see someone that I think, is maybe having these thoughts, or, I'm worried about the mental health of a friend, a coworker, what do you recommend somebody do, or what resources do you have for someone, maybe in that situation that may be witnessing someone having some trouble?
So if you see a friend of yours or a family member and you see changes in their behavior, that is the sign to say, I'm really concerned about you. I've noticed that you don't seem to be the same. Or if someone has lost something or someone and they're grieving, to just reach out to that person and say, I'm here for you. And I know we're weird about touching people today, and, But I don't think there's anything wrong with touching someone's hand with permission. Can I touch your hand? Can I touch your arm? I just want to reach out to you, lean into that person and be there for them and have that conversation. I've noticed that you've changed. I'm concerned about you. What's going on? How can I help you?
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes that, can be challenging too, especially if you're not super close with the person. So talk a little bit about maybe some of the signs. I know you mentioned like change in behavior. Are there other things that people can maybe watch for, any type of warning signs or anything?
Yes. So if you have a friend, we'll just say a friend that's gregarious and they're the life of the party. You always want them to be there. You always call them and say, hey, we're doing this tonight. You want to join us? And all of a sudden that person starts pulling back from you and withdraws. That's a huge change in behavior. So that person, that would concern me if you've called them several times and they always say, no, I'm going to stay home. That's a change in behavior. If someone is more aggressive, angry, irritable, that's a change in behavior also. I've just noticed that you seem a little bit more crabby lately. What's going on? And just have that conversation. And if you feel uncomfortable talking with someone across the table, sit next to them on the couch. It's really interesting how much information you can get from someone when you sit next to them versus sitting across from them. Just that little change, because you're not looking straight at their eyes and you're not
sure, maybe a little less intimidating.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that would be if you see someone that is, or if a friend of your friends is drinking more, perhaps doing drugs, doing dangerous behavior, any of those kinds of things are warning signs as well, and to check in with that person. Our society is grief illiterate. So people are grieving around you for all different kinds of reasons. Maybe someone has lost the job that they just loved. Maybe they've lost their dog. Maybe they didn't get the promotion that they wanted. Maybe the relationship fell apart. Maybe they did lose grandma and grandpa or someone close to them. And so they're grieving. When I start working with someone, I always ask them that question: have you lost something or someone recently? And oftentimes they have. Sometimes they even have to think themselves, have I? Yes. And then we start talking about how that loss made them feel.
Absolutely.
And so that kind of, and grief and depression kind of feel the same.
Yeah.
So if you bring that out into the open as to why they might be feeling less like themselves, and it's grief. We know that, I'm a perfect example, we know that you can heal from that grief and that you can come out of the darkness and into the light again, and that things will get better.
Yes.
So just having that friend reach out and just notice that something is different is huge. To have that friend who cares. It's the work that I do, but if I see someone sad in a grocery store, like perhaps they're crying, I would never just walk away. I would always reach out to them and say, I noticed that you were crying. Are you okay?
It's challenging because not everyone, feels that level of comfort to say something to someone. It can almost be more challenging when it's someone you know or you love, because you don't want to offend them. You don't want to say something, incorrectly or anything like that, or, harm your relationship. So it can be a challenge, but I think it's important that everybody knows that could potentially save a person's life.
It can. And I'll give you an example of that. So I was doing some fundraising and I went into Camelot to ask the bartender, the owner, if he wanted to donate a couple of dinner coupons to our fundraiser. And I said who I was and what I was doing. And there was a gentleman at the bar. And he said, oh, what are you doing? And he started reaching into his back pocket to get out his wallet. I have some money for you. I can donate. And I said, no, I don't want to take your money. He said, I'm suicidal. So I walked right over to a stranger and I put my arm around him and I said, tell me what's going on. What's happening? How can I help you? And he told me his story, and I was able to, I'm also a Rotarian, so we had just had some information from an organization in Appleton that will assess your home and make changes in your home. That's what he needed. And so I connected him to that resource, and then I followed up with him to see how he was doing, and he was doing much better and was no longer suicidal. But
that's incredible.
People think you're you're opening up something, a can of worms, or, you don't want to talk about suicide, you don't want to talk about mental health, but the person really wants you to notice. They really want you to say something that opens up that line of communication. And I actually think it would better your relationship, better your friendship, and make that person feel so good, just knowing that someone cared and someone noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. And back when I was younger, middle school age, I had a friend that dealt with a lot of mental health issues, self-harm issues, was very much, getting close to, these suicidal behaviors. And it was very frightening. I was only 13, 14 years old at the time. I didn't know what to do, if I should tell her parents, because I didn't want her to be upset with me. So I ended up telling, my mom, I'm like, I'm noticing these things and she's doing these things. I don't understand why. I don't know what to do. And it was a very hard conversation to have. And she said, we can sit down with her parents. We can talk about this. And I'm like, no. I didn't, want to get her in trouble. That's what I was, really concerned about. And, I remember my mom saying to me, like, but this is something that they need to know. Like, I would want to know if this was you. I'm like, okay. So, eventually I, talked to them, and she was very upset with me for a while that I had, like she said, kind of told on her for something. And then I felt really bad. But eventually, many years later, I had met up with her, and, we had grown apart, not because of that, just because of life and everything. And she was telling me that she did this project for college, talking about what she had suffered through and what had happened, and how she mentioned me and how I was part of her healing journey, and how she was so grateful that I did tell somebody, because she never would have. So I think everybody has amazing stories like that where, they're very challenging and it's heartbreaking to hear about, but I think it touches the lives of a lot of people around you that you may not even know that they do.
You did the right thing, Abby. I just want to say I commend you for that, because we teach that in high schools. Tell your trusted adult. We encourage high school kids and junior high kids to have 5 trusted adults. Yeah. So what you did was exactly what we suggest. Yeah. You told your mom. She was your trusted adult. She could tell your friend's mom, or you told your friend's mom. And we always say you would rather have a friend who is angry with you for a little while than not here anymore. Yes. So you did the right thing. And I'm so glad that your friend recognized that and thanked you for saving her life.
It was hard, and it was something that weighed heavy on me for a long time, and something I didn't know that it did until I, saw her again. And, she pulled me aside we were just at a function, and she's like, hey, I just want you to know, like, it was something that felt like it was never truly resolved between the two of us. And she's like, I want you to know, like, I was upset at the time, but more so just about what I was feeling, and I didn't know what to do. And I felt I had nowhere to turn, no one to trust. And so it was really great. So just, highlighting those stories of, that this happens to people around us. And I think another good point to make is sometimes you don't always notice a change in behavior, and you hear stories about people like, oh, they were the most outgoing, fun person that I knew. And all of a sudden, like, they're gone, and you may not notice, or you may not know why. And I think, it's important to have resources like the ones that you offer for those that are, not that you're ever prepared for it, but you're just completely caught off guard of losing someone in your life, and you had no idea what was wrong. And you can almost feel this sense of guilt as well. Did I miss the signs? Could I have done something?
Yes, unfortunately, that is true. We always say, you don't know what you don't know. I know a lot more now than I did when my brother-in-law passed away. And you're right. Suicide is shock, sadness, and trauma. There's no other way around it. The person who has lost their loved one suffers PTSD and does suffer guilt and shame, and the stigma of mental health illness and suicide is still there. We've come a long way, and we have a long way to go, but they have to deal with a lot, and people don't know often what to say. Yeah. And they didn't see the signs. It was maybe impulsive. You don't ever expect your loved one to take their life by suicide. That's one. Two, you don't know what's in someone's heart or in someone's head. And some don't leave a note. So you'll never know. So you're left with that why question. And that's the hardest thing for a survivor is they never will find out why their person has died. And that's part of that grief process. It takes a long time to accept that you'll never know the why question, and a long time for you to heal. After Rick died, I lost my mom and my dad very close. It was like three major deaths right in a row. But Rick's death took a long time. It took about 5 years for me to heal from that loss, just because he was such a wonderful person. He was also a veteran, and he was just a fun person. Like you said, he was gregarious and kind and giving and all of those things. And he had a family and a wife and all the things going for him. And then he took his life. So
it's so hard. And everybody, takes that loss very differently. But I think it's great to know about those resources. And even if it's not something that you have experienced, unfortunately, someday you might. So I think even if it doesn't hit home now, maybe it will. So I think it's great to know that you're a free resource in the community for people that they can kind of take advantage of if they need to. So as we're kind of wrapping things up here, what is one thing that you would want someone to remember about your organization, after they listen to this episode?
That we're here for you, that you don't have to do these things alone. You don't have to grieve alone. You don't have to, if you're thinking of suicide, you don't have to hold that inside. You can share that with someone, and we can get you the resources and help that you need. We do have a plethora of resources here in the Valley, so you don't have to suffer in silence. And I think just knowing that there are people who are strangers that really care about you and love you and want you to have a good life is a tool that you have in your toolbox. And we want you to be here. We want you to be here to enjoy everything that the Fox Cities has to offer you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think this kind of rolls into my last question here and you mentioned it a little bit in the beginning of the episode, but in your opinion, what do you think makes downtown Appleton one great place?
I love downtown Appleton. I could talk about it forever. We're rich in history. We have the PAC. We have great museums, the Trout, the Castle Museum, the building for kids. There's just so much to do. We have the Mile of Music. We have the Farmers Market. So many wonderful restaurants and bars. There's just something for everyone in downtown Appleton, and free parking on Sunday. So if you want to just come and park on Sunday and go for a walk, walking around Lawrence University is absolutely phenomenal. We have water all around us. Take advantage of everything that Appleton and downtown Appleton has here to offer us.
Yeah. And like you said, a lot of those things, great for mental health as well. And of course, another great thing is your organization. So remind our guests again where they can find you, where they can learn more about your organization if they do need to access your resources.
We have a website, preventsuicidefoxcities.org. Well, like us on Facebook. It's Prevent Suicide-Fox Cities. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Cindy Reffke, and you can email me, cindy@preventsuicidefoxcities.org. If you have any questions, I'm here for you and available to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for joining us again with Prevent Suicide Fox Cities. And thank you all for tuning in to Talk of the Town. We will be back with more stories, more voices, and more reasons to love downtown Appleton. Until next time, keep your ears open. You just might be hearing the next Talk of the Town.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.